Good afternoon. Happy Friday, everybody. Pretty good day in the market, right? I mean, I see the major indices in positive territory. Just looking at the iPad here. Now, we'll give everyone just a moment to make their way into the room. Hope everyone having a great week. We're going to end it on a great week. Hey, John. Hey, Skyper. If you guys could just type in VV in the comment section, let me know that you can hear me, that you can see me, and we will get started. I know the alert's just hitting, so we'll give it just a moment. Let's see here. Yes, Glenn is out today. Glenn is off today. Should be back next week. All right, so everyone can hear me. Everyone can see me. Bill, I did get your comment. I don't know if you saw my response on Wednesday's video. Ultimately, I did wait as long as I could, but because we have the live stream AMA in the afternoon, we got to edit the video, things of that nature. It's really hard to do the video after AMA, or pretty next to impossible since it comes out at 6. But that video actually was probably one of the better, bits of advice I've given. That I trust the dip in gold a lot more than I did the dip in tech. And I know around 2 p.m., we got the 90-day pause. The market went bonanzas. Everyone lost their mind. A lot of buying happened. And then since then, it's been pretty lackluster, right? Yesterday, we gave up a lot of that. Today, the market's trying to hold their ground. Actually, let's take a look and see what we got here. The Dow Jones up slightly. You can see just by the intraday chart. I mean, barely above positive. All three of these indices, the NASDAQ and the S&P, started out this morning. It's slightly in positive territory, giving up those gains later in the session. And then as of right now, it looks like all major indices are making their way back in positive territory. The VectorVest composite, though, is the laggard today. The broad market down 0.17%. Let's see here. Take a look at UUP in December. That break in IBD manufacturers. The index went to cash. I'm here. VVMTI trend is in the up position. Is it now? Is the MTI? It's not above 1. It may have gone up a little bit. With some of the more positive. Oh, wait. We are in a primary wave up signal. Sorry, I did not realize that. Well, it hasn't been confirmed yet, so I don't want to be putting rumors out there. But it does look like, let's see if I scroll down here. There it is. The trend column is currently in an up-down situation. So the first up is the primary wave, right? And it has not been confirmed. The VectorVest composite would have to close higher than it was 5 trading days ago, being April 4th at 61.98. Right now we're at 62.77. So unless we get a pretty good sell-off going into the afternoon, it does look pretty optimistic that we will get that primary wave up signal. Now, I will say this. We're not going to see a green light for a while because right now we're coming off April 4th red light. So Monday and Tuesday will be the 7th and 8th. So come Wednesday, that'll be the first real possibility of a green light. Now, that being said, we are rolling into earnings season. We got big banks to finish out the week, and then the beginning of next week, big banks. But I know a lot of you guys are interested, semiconductors, NVIDIA, all that good stuff. If you bought the dip on NVIDIA, if you have NVIDIA, if you're thinking about buying more NVIDIA, you know what? I would say definitely check out Taiwan Semiconductors earnings report next week. So next week, ASML, which is the top lithographer, it's all, even TSM needs ASML, and they don't need too many people. Tabula says, time to back up the truck. Now, when I did that gold video on Wednesday, I talked about the Qs. I talked about the level support it found back in 2021, 2022. I like what I see when it comes to the NASDAQ, right? Yes. There could be more of a dip, more of a sell-off, and obviously that, probably be tariff-related. No surprise, right? But right now, if we ignore the noise, look at the chart, it looks like the VectorVest composite, the NASDAQ wants to find level support. And most of the indices, even the VectorVest composite I was looking, most of them are finding level support from 2021, 2022 swing highs that took place around then. Earnings season should present a few surprise buying opportunities for semiconductors. Before you get all glamorous in semis, and trust me, I still like my semis. ASML and TSM, Dutch and Taiwanese company, right? They both report next week before all, the U.S. designers like NVIDIA, AMD, even Apple's going to be affected by that. Look and see what those two companies say on the earnings call. And if I had to guess, I think Taiwan Semi is Wednesday or Thursday. It might be Thursday. Depending on when it is, I'll probably do a short for sure. But if I could get that information before the 6 p.m. Actually, it is Thursday. Now remember, it's Thursday morning because their time difference before the bell. So yes, Thursday. What I'll do is I will listen to that call, just let you know what I think. Because semiconductors, AI, that's not going anywhere. We know that ain't slowing down at any time soon, right? But what is the concern is these tariffs that could affect the bottom dollar, the margins of these semiconductor companies, right? Or, some of these semiconductors, the polarization of, global tensions like China, being a huge buyer of NVIDIA and AMD CPUs, GPUs, but now they're limited on what they can buy, right? So we're going to see how all this stuff is going to affect these semiconductor companies. So again, even if you don't watch my video I put out next week, do yourself a favor. If you like tech, if you're holding tech, semiconductors, AI, whatever, watch ASML, watch TSMC, get the updates of what they said in those earnings meets, because those are going to be important, especially to kick off tech, because if they're if their forecast aren't spectacular, things of that nature, because I think for the most part, this earnings season is going to be less focused on the first quarter earnings and more focused on the forecast. Everyone wants to hear what these CEOs got to say as far as these tariffs, the trade wars, all that good stuff. But as far as the tariffs in general, it looks like there was some positive optimism in there. That's why we saw that record-breaking rally. I think it was Wednesday. But again, just be careful, because we know that the news has been changing quite a bit. Why is Apple going up? Probably just dip buying, if I had to guess. Apple going up one day, that doesn't mean, hey, I should go buy some Apple today, right? Because even though there was a 90-day pause, I talked about this, I think, yesterday on the channel. Apple is greatly affected. They're manufacturing mostly based in China. They're trying to switch it to India. I think that's actually what the short was on. They were, shipping, I think, 600 tons worth of iPhones and iPhone materials to avoid some of these tariffs or get ahead of the tariffs. And a lot of companies are doing this, right? I even saw an article that, if you see prices going up this week, right now, well, those stores are just price gouging you, because this stuff hasn't even gone into effect yet. They're still going off inventory, pre-tariff from most industries and stores. So, I did see an article, I think it was on CNBC, that, a lot of companies might be trying to price gouge before the actual cost, is justified, if it's increased. I think most CEOs will be pulling guidance and using words like, we need to be flexible, keeping our options open. Chris, I 100% agree. The forecast, that's really what could spook the markets going forward. And that's why I said, before we hear from, NVIDIA, AMD, Apple, let's get a sense of what ASML and TSM shares with us, right? Because obviously those two are at the top of the supply chain. All the other tech companies rely on them. These two companies have, pretty much made Intel obsolete with their partnership over the last few decades. So definitely check those out. Now let's dive into this, right? Because we see some optimism here, right? We got a primary wave up flashing, a sea of red lights. But even so, look at the advanced declines. 47% to advances 42%. If you've been, dipping your toes into the market right now, I can't be mad on it, but you don't want to just keep buying the dip every week, right? You got to have some cash when there's a really good opportunity. Right now, today, I don't, other than gold, because that's just following the trend of gold. Gold's going up right now, right? Like at least last time I looked. But other than gold, maybe some pockets, not going to be a big buyer today, right? Especially over the weekend. You know, we've seen it the past few weekends. A lot of big news can come out, and last thing you want to do is buy a stock Friday before close, and you can't do nothing with it until Monday, and you never know what's going to happen over the weekend, especially in today's volatile market, right? So just, putting that out there. Now, that is interesting, but you see the call column still down. So if you're conservative, if you're prudent, if you're not an active trader, hey, do yourself a favor. Enjoy your weekend, right? Because there's not much here saying, hey, I need to go look at a bunch of charts and start buying stocks today. No, it's not what it's telling me. Mimi says, gold has made me so much. I'm so glad I held it. Hey, Mimi, I'm glad you did too. Have you kept your eye on UAMY? Yeah, Jazz, I've kept my eye. That bad boy's at like 260 right now. If you guys don't know, U.S. antimony is a stock started talking about before Trump even made it popular. Rare earth minerals. I came across that topic because I did the semiconductor videos. UAMY is in a great position because since China has a monopoly, Trump administration obviously wants to get all the rare earths they can. UAMY started about, when I started talking about it, about 70 cents. Now, let's take a look here. Let me just, let's see here. Oh, no.
Everything okay?
Yeah, hold on one second. I gotta log back in here.
Yeah, I was gonna change the scene so it didn't show your password.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I just unplugged it for a second.
No, that's
Sorry, we got Clay in the background, but all right. So let's see here. Let's look at UAMY. This is a momentum play here. Now the valuation was at like 20 cents when I started talking about this stock, and the stock was probably about 70, 80 cents here. It's probably somewhere in here because me in a trend line. As soon as it broke this downward trend here, that's kind of when I started posting videos about it. But yeah, I mean, that was less than 80 cents. If we take a look here, the value is at $1.86 right now. That valuation was only 20 cents when I first started talking about that stock. The valuation is skyrocketing with the stock itself. Ryan, is it too late to buy gold stocks or wait for the pullback? I might try to tell you to buy it on the last dip. I'm going to leave the gold choice up to you. But anytime gold takes a dip, anytime the chart, I'm looking at a gold stock and the chart tells me, hey, this is, a good dip, nice pivot on support. There's follow through with the gold stocks in general. Hey, I would do that. Please check the bond market. Trouble is brewing. Bill, I did see that. I'm not going to lie. I'm not some kind of bond market expert. But I did hear and I did see, I don't know if it's true or not, some rumors, some news stories out there that the bond market was one of the deciding factors for, Trump to, rein in some of his tariff decisions, the 90-day pause. And I think that's what, why we didn't get that follow through. Wednesday we saw the big jump, Thursday gap down, no follow through there at all. I think the bond market is what's spooking investors right now, right? And I'm not gonna pretend like I know a lot more about stocks and ETFs than I do the bond market. I'm much better. Buy the dip. You ever slip? Don't you ever slip? Again, I am still of the mindset that foreign selling, lack of buying, and bond market. Bill, are you surprised by that? When the United States causes a ruckus and tariffs and trade tensions around the world, and you expect people to buy our debt. I'm just gonna leave that there, but that's it. But yeah, I could see the bond market, the treasury equities. Nope. Yeah. See, so there's more damage to tariffs than just more some prices of a toothbrush going up, right? And that's why I don't get political. We don't do that here on the channel. We just got to take what happens in the politics and, try to keep you on the right side of the market, right? And that's been gold. So I'm still going to be on the gold train. I was here trying to figure out, obviously Contra ETFs are a way to go. But I'm not, Contras are tricky right now because of the MTI so low, BSR is so low. I know I did a video on it last night, some Contra ETFs. Contra ETFs are tricky. They're not at a stage where you can just buy them and forget about them, right? They're very volatile right now. So Contra ETFs, unless you're an active trader, unless you're a good chart reader, well-disciplined investor, I wouldn't mess with them. If you made some money in Contras, hey, it's not political, it's economics 101. Yeah, well, what we talked about is economics, but it can become political in the comment section pretty quickly, though. So try not to touch base on that. Certain policies, but yes, Treasury equities not doing so well. And actually, let me take the mouse for just a second here. I can't take the mouse. Let's see. There we go. I want to see. Yeah, so I'm just looking at the article here. Sell-off in U.S. bonds and dollar raises questions about safe haven assets. Why did Trump pause the tariffs? The bond market rebelled. There we go. What advisors are telling their clients on latest bond market sell-off. Trump dodged a disaster from the bond market, but yet damage isn't over. So yeah, the bond market, not one article when I typed in Google and put in bond market and went to news, nothing there was positive, right? And I'll be honest, I mean, I know that's not good for the stocks, but again, that's not my specialty, so I'm not going to talk on it too much. But does anyone know, what happens if the bond market really tumbles? What happens, to stocks? What happens to interest rates? Things of that nature. Swiss franc heavy buy. The Swiss, they've always been neutral, right? If you want a safe haven asset, I don't even looked at this, the chart of the Swiss franc, but I know typically Swiss are pretty neutral. They've been historically neutral, right? Trump said he likes the bond market. Oh yeah, no, I mean he's a business guy. I'm sure he likes all the markets. He's between a rock and a hard place trying to do what he's doing right now. So we'll see how it plays out. All right, let's do this. Let's go to stock pick ideas. See if there's any trades to have. Right, the bond market is where the U.S. sells its debt. That's what I got from that. I've talked about it before. One of my first Bitcoin videos back when it was 40,000. The rise of Bitcoin just is coming because of again, the dollar is in question as a safe haven asset. The debt, is it sustainable, right? And in the video, I talked about countries like El Salvador, I think it was Venezuela, some Middle Eastern countries, but typically crypto does very well and when countries financially kind of fall apart, right? Their dollars or whatever currency they're holding. Venezuela went so far to ban Bitcoin, right? So that's curious. I wonder how that will affect Bitcoin. Obviously, I believe we're in a risk-off situation. So I think gold is going to be the bigger benefactor than any, I won't even say crypto. I'll just say Bitcoin because that's the main one. I still think gold. And, in my opinion or not, let's see what the software is telling us. First thing I'm going to do is go to hot stocks. Oh, wait. No, not hot stocks. High momentum stocks. That's what I meant to say. Gold mining, Palomar Holdings. I wonder what this is. Is that a gold one? I'm pretty sure that's a gold one. Industry group. Nope. It's insurance. Okay. Insurance still doing good. I know it was progressive for a while. Insurance, healthcare, gold, mining, defensive plays, utility, Bitcoin, not it. Bitcoin, not it. If bond rates go up much, the U.S. has to pay more interest to other countries to sustain their debt. Yeah, and I know there was, rumors. I don't know exactly what the plan was, but there are rumors that Trump was trying to, force the Federal Reserve's hand to lowering interest rates, to restructure that debt, saving a lot of money. I found it very interesting. We're now paying more in interest payments than we are in defense and, was it Medicare or Social Security? One of those. But the interest rate is a real problem now, right? Because there's so much debt. Gold is the real deal. Yes. Hey, and I will say this. Because I know a couple people mentioned in the comment section. I see it on the internet. Silver being undervalued compared to gold. Now, if you're going to go the the commodity route, whatever it is, I suggest, gold, silver, rare earth mining companies. That in a nutshell. You want to throw something in there, spice it up? Hey, that's on you, but that's what I would do. If you're not gonna stay in cash, if you're not, I don't want to say stay in cash, but if you're not getting more into cash, things of that nature. But I mean, as I go down here, look, silver, wheat, and precious metals, and these are the high momentum stocks, right? So if you're a momentum trader and you're looking outside of, really commodities, silver, mining, those kind of things, maybe an insurance company here, it's going to be rough for you, and obviously, being a bullish momentum trader and, in a down market in general is going to be rough, right? Silver to gold ratio is way out of whack, favors silver. Yes, Bill, that's what I was talking about, that gold to silver ratio on the internet. And I'm not going to pretend like I've been trading gold or silver for 30 years. No. But yes, from what I see, silver right now is historically undervalued, especially compared to gold right now, right? So if you think that, hey, you haven't bought the gold dip and you're just, coming across, hey, maybe I should get into more commodity ETFs or stocks, maybe look at the silver stocks, right? And see. Actually, let's do this. Here we got hot industries, right? Look at this. Food, dairy. And food, dairy, some of these stocks actually, let's take a look at these because some of these weren't doing too bad. Like this one here. Yeah, so, but that was a dip, right? That was a dip worth buying there, in the food. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot more dips better than just tech stocks right now. This one just, nice steady Eddie. Looks like it just hit a new high, 1 year high. Yep, as of today. Let's see here. We got Lifeway Foods. It's rolling over. Maybe put a trend line on it recently, or maybe like a 20-day EMA, some kind of quick moving average. There we go. Lifeway. Yep. Zoom in here. Get above that level of resistance there. It's going to put you about 25.50. If we get back above that, hey, this thing might have some more room to run. I'm trying to give you some fish that aren't tech, right? Because, when tech starts moving, when I start, believing in a good rally for tech, I'll let you know. I me, I love a good semiconductor company. But let's focus on where the money's at. And look, ETFs, sector, materials, mining, gold, ETFs, commodity. That's what I'm saying. Commodity, right? Commodities are big right now. Again, these are all gold stocks. Hello, can you please talk about Meta? Amir, what's going on with Meta? Is it going up? I do like Meta of the MAG stocks. If you're think about the MAG 7, Meta is probably on my list. It'd be Meta, Google, or Nvidia, personally, right now. But don't forget about Netflix. I know Netflix got kicked out of that group. But Netflix is, I like Netflix. They got their hands in now the gaming, live streams. They've really gone about. Can you please talk financials? Meta is undervalued. Yes, it is. Meta, I did a lot. It was actually the most undervalued companies in the QQQ. Maybe I should do that again. It's hard to do it when the market's not bullish. But sometimes what I'll do is I'll take our NASDAQ 100 watch list, resort, price divided by value, right? Meta was always one of the top ones. Meta and App both say down. Yeah, I'm not too worried about App 11 by any means. All right, but let's take a look at these gold stocks. So this is where the money's at. The rest is just, you're hoping the bottom is in. Let's be honest, right? Most of the stocks in the tech space aren't showing me favorable chart patterns right now. But look at that. This thing just keeps moving. See, Bill, even though I, did the gold video Wednesday, it was still relevant, and honestly, central banks with, geopolitical tensions, and I did a video of this on about 2 years ago where the dollar was strengthening, but so was gold, right? Normally there's a correlation there, but that correlation got a little messed up. And the reason why central banks are putting a lot of pressure, buying a lot of gold right now, right? Think about this. If there's a bond market crisis, if no one wants to buy our debt, we went off the gold standard. It's all fiat. It's all trust now, right? It's all paper money. But there's a lot of talks about, countries getting back onto some kind of standard, commodity-based standard. I know China, the BRICS nations. I don't know what they're going to do, but I see central banks putting pressure on gold and gold going higher. Mullen, did this stock really go from a high of $4 trillion, $4 trillion to $2? Mullen, $4 trillion? I don't know about that. But no, that was a short squeeze candidate a while back. But Harmony, look, still momentum there. Nice buying pressure today. I like what I see when it comes to this position. Here we've got Orla Mining again. Big gap up today. The bottom wick, buying pressure. See, Orla there. We got an upper wick, closed bodied. Maybe look for a retest if you're going to buy the dip. Look for a retest here because it broke out and it may want to retest. If you see a pivot there and you're thinking about buying some gold on a dip, that might be a good one. But Orla Mining, I mean, it's been rocking and rolling, right? And as long as it stays above like its 20-day EMA, whatever moving averages you're looking at, Bollinger Bands, 40-day moving average, or a trend line, just something simple to keep you on the right side of the trade. Because I don't want you to buy it. It breaks its trend line. And Cycle, how are you clowns doing? Well, we talking about gold today, Cyclopedia. Hopefully you bought some gold. Hopefully you watched Wednesday's video. You'd be up a little bit this week. Here we've got AU Anglo Gold. Again, this one's got a nice full-body candlestick on it. I like what I see here. Still undervalued. Trades at $43. We're valuing the stock just over $60. And that's another reason why I like gold, because a lot of these stocks are undervalued, right? So even though they've had a big run up, yeah, you might be buying on an overbought technical level. But from a price standpoint, I mean, a lot of these are trading at values, right? Look, this one's trading at $14.38. We valued over $20. Here's another one. Trading at 16. We valued at $18.59, right? Nice trend to the upside. Actually, looks like most of all these stocks here are undervalued. So maybe, gold might have a good little run to it, right? When Meta IPO came out, I bought 35 and it dropped at the time. I bought more at 19 as well, but my Meta stock at 40. After that, I never bought Meta. That's my story on Meta, which I regret. What does that put you at? 75, 94 shares? Well, you should buy 6 more shares when you feel like there's a good price. So that way you got a 100-round lot. And then you put some options on that bad boy. Because if you don't want to sell it, at least you can do something with it. You can sell a call against it. You can do a lot of things if you got a 100-round lot, right? Gives you a little bit of flexibility there, especially if you just want get some income based off that. All right, so here's GFI again, undervalued company. We're seeing a theme here, right? This one is fairly valued, coming at 117.77. We value at 117, but I like what I see here. Dr. David Paul said gold has a mind of its own. It is capricious, erratic price movements. I don't doubt that. But a lot of stocks can show erratic price movements. So that's why I say, just keep it simple. You ain't got to put all kinds of indicators on here. Just, couple, moving average, RT, something. Just something simple to keep you on the right path, but I would probably go with like a trailing stop, a ratchet stop. So if gold continues to go up, and if it does pull back, either it'll cut you out, at a slight profit, or minimize that risk. Because every time it goes up and you're ratcheting higher, trailing higher, at some point, even your stop will be above your break-even point. So Dr. Paul also said that the gold has possibility to disappoint. No, nothing else. I got retracted. Gold, 3,257, right? I'm not going to say gold's going to be the best trade for the entire year. We'll see how it plays out. But if things continue down this path, it might just do that, right? It might just do that. All right, here we got Alamos Gold again. So this one's becoming fairly valued here. But you see a lot of opportunities. So this is the antimony stock. I don't know why it's in the gold one. But this does rare earth minerals, mostly antimony. You could see it jumping up today. The high coming in close to $3. Quite a bit here. So if you are a momentum trader, this one might be for you. It's showing momentum to the upside, but I don't like that upper wick. So either take out the upper wick, or if it does pull back, see if we find a nice retest on this level here around 240, get a good pivot. But that would be my bit of advice. If you're not in it, hey, and also I see two lows here. You draw a trend line. If it approaches that trend line, see if there's a pivot, you can buy it. Obviously put your stop right around the trend line. MACD just crossed back into positive territory here. But you have to see what the news is on it. Last time I really did some research on the stock. Essentially, I mean, they had like the Department of Defense, full government approval. They're about to, triple, quadruple capacity, because essentially, they've got to keep up with China, and we're so far behind when it comes to rare earth minerals. This company's finding itself to be a big benefactor of that, and the valuation is really good too. And let me just show value. There we are. So this is the valuation here, right? The value, less than 50 cents. I think it was around 20 cents here at the beginning of the chart. But you see his price action's rising based on this news here. It's not just hype. Look at the valuation. Big jump here above 50 cents. And then it jumped close to $1. And then it just went, crazy. Now it's, a dollar. Let's see here. I think it was $1.86. Yes, $1.86. So that is the kind of company that I like. It's not just hype, right? There's actually, a reason why it's jumping. Look at oil stocks. Oil is down under 60. Any thought on oil? I think as long as there are recession fears, oil is going to struggle, right? I think there might be pockets when oil might have a quick rebound. It's probably going to be, tariff news related. Conflicts in the Middle East, things of that nature. And I did see that, a lot of sanctioned oil was getting cracked down on essentially by the U.S. Treasury and the new administration. And that did put pressure on oil. And we saw a little rally there because, Venezuela, Iran, Russia, they put out a lot of oil, right? So if their sanctioned oil is hitting markets, that's going to, put pressure or, keep prices down, right? And Russian oil sells cheaper than the rest. If oil is down, why are we increasing shale drilling in the U.S.? Probably, I'm not going to speculate on why we're increasing shale drilling in the U.S., but I do know shale, that's expensive. $60 a barrel. There's not too many countries and too many companies that can produce oil, with margins right now with oil so low. So, if you are a bottom fisher for the long term of oil, hey, it might not be a bad idea to pick up a couple shares of a good solid company, right? But you'd have to look at oil in general. I typically look at the oil sector in the VectorVest 7 program, so you can see the stocks move, just because oil will bounce around quite a bit. But the sector graph is a good way just to get a sense of how the stocks are moving in general. SPY calls, I have $9 upside for 520 to 529. There you go. All right. 1233, we talked about a couple stocks there. Let's go back to stock pick ideas. Most of these are just going to be, gold, mineral. But let's go here and let's see what the semiconductors are doing real quick. All right, look at this. Positive territory. NVIDIA back at 110. Good. I like to see the market try to find some optimism, because I said it yesterday. With that good CPI report that we had yesterday, it went to 2.4% from 2.8. That's phenomenal. I mean, that's almost to the Fed's objective of at 2% here. But clearly the bond market, put jitters in. We didn't get that rally today. Maybe that's starting to come to fruition here. The bond fears, taking a back seat, while we see some optimism here. But look at Broadcom, 3.2%. AMAT, 3.3%. ASML up today, right? I do like what I see here. Micron, not leading the charge. UMC, that's a Taiwanese company as well. See here, ASML, pretty mixed after, the top, say, 5 or 10. Looks like the old faithfuls are working. NVIDIA, Taiwan Semi, AMD, Broadcom, AMAT, ASML. So I do like that when it comes to semiconductors here. MU is down. Yep, I did see that one. Duh, PPI is great today. Oh, that's right. Sorry, I was doing a video for Australia, so I didn't really get to look at the U.S. market. So yeah, we had CPI data yesterday, PPI data today. I like that because I've been talking about one of my biggest fears with the whole tariff thing is that the inflation was ticking up before tariffs, right? So now with it coming back down to 2.4, that's 2 reports lower in a row. I like that. That gives us a little bit more buffer zone. Because I didn't want inflation to be at 3% or higher, and we have tariffs on the table. But with inflation at 2.4, and with the tariff situation, I can live with that. And it's on the decline right now. Yeah, it'll probably tick up, next month, 2 months. Who knows what it'll do? But I'd rather go into the tariff situation with as low CPI as possible. 2.4A. It's not our objective of 2, but 2.4, I will take it. I will take that and run. And you can see the semiconductors, they are doing the same. They like low inflation data, right? Because inflation was high. Well, that could, if inflation went back above 3%, well, we're definitely we want to be getting interest rate cut. And, there could be a hike on the table, if inflation started to, get out of control again, right? Glenn is to PLTR as Ryan is to AMD, their favorite stocks. AMD, I learned option trading on that. I will always follow AMD. I'll always let you know we had a nice swing trade there when it broke out of the descending channel. Right now it's at $93. I mean, me personally, NVIDIA sub 100, TSM, 140s, 150s, not a bad deal at all. AMD, sub 100, sub 95. If you get in the 80s on AMD for a long-term bottom fishing hold, not bad. Broadcom, 178. Broadcom, though, is overvalued at 147. Did you see this right here? Look at this, actually. Broadcom, for a moment, was undervalued. You can see it right there. Ooh. Yeah, look at that. It got down to like 137. Value at 147. So, yeah, Broadcom was undervalued. Look for the values, right? I get excited with that because Broadcom was well over 200, not that long ago. ASML, let's see what the valuation on AMS, fairly valued, 610. Look, the company was way overvalued before, over $1,000, right? Now you're getting values in the market on these semiconductors, right? That's why I say, I'm not backing up the truck on any of them, but, buying nibbles here and there at good prices, good quality stocks, that's the name of the game, right? NVIDIA was a bargain at last week's 94. Yeah. What do you think of blue chip stocks? I mean, Bill, I know Warren Buffett says, and a lot of people say it, buy when blood is in the water. Well, when these companies went, with NVIDIA sub 100, AMD sub 95, we'll say sub 90 since that's what it was last week out in the 80s. When these companies sell off, yeah, I like putting alerts there. To let me know, like, hey, this company's at a price I've been waiting for. Now it's finally here. I might take a little nibble, right? Yeah, it's not, nothing in the technicals are probably going to be good when it goes down like that. That's why I say don't pack up the truck. Why is Palantir down? Why others are rising? That's a good question. And actually, we'll get to that in just a moment here. Palantir. All right, Midas Touch. These are high momentum stocks. At no surprise, it is going to be mostly gold, it looks here. Let's see what this EBIT Systems is doing. This looks nice. That's a nice smooth chart right there. That's EBIT Systems. It is overvalued at 200. Let's not do that one. Let's see here. Wheaton, overvalued, way overvalued here. See if we can find some. Here's an undervalued one. And it looks like it could break out from the prior high here recently. Currently trading at $14.30. We value the company at $18.27. I like what I see when it comes to this company here. And we take a look. Rising earnings per share. Yeah, I like all the factors that I'm seeing right there. See here, we got Contra ETFs. Let's talk about some Contras for a second. Obviously, they're probably down right now. You see them rolling around. Here's the Pro Shares Ultra Short Russell 2000. Showing some indecision here. Let's go to 3 months. We're still in the body of the bearish candlestick. We got a bearish engulfing. Not seeing much follow through. We're staying within the body there, right? So don't load up on shorts yet. Want to see some kind of follow through there. Pro shares, again, looks like it's, hitting some resistance. Today's wick is lower than yesterday's wick, so be careful with that. Let's see, we got dog. Pro shares 500, NASDAQ. Yeah, they're all down today. All right, so let's go create a watch list. Go ahead and start typing your stock symbols in. And Palantir, I see Palantir as just a very overvalued company. I'm not going to say it's bad by any means, but it's just overvalued by the VectorVest metrics and, a lot of, different valuation techniques out there. That's my only caveat with it. I'd stick to the chart. I don't want to hear about its fundamentals and all that kind of stuff. But it's definitely a good company. Don't get me wrong there. Oh, I'm over here trying to type on the keyboard. Add stocks. PLMR. AGLD. I don't see AGLD. IONQ. ESLT. There we go. NVDL. EME. Algorand. Mir, yeah, we're not gonna be able to track that. How about this? Let me put in BTC. Hey, look, you guys are getting smart. Buying the crypto and everyone's talking about it's crap. It's just like, it's just the bottom fishing, right? I've said that before. Typically, the best time to be buying crypto, and probably the quantum stocks too, is when no one is talking about it. So we're gonna take a look at IONQ. I'm curious about what it's doing, right? Because I don't think the quantum hype is going around anywhere. And as soon as the tariff news kind of fades out, we might be able to get some more quantum news here. Axon. There we go. SPY. I think we got everything. I got ETH. No, someone put in ETH. All right, Hood. Okay. I like Hood. I like Hood because it gives you crypto exposure, so it will rally typically when crypto rallies. I mean, I don't know if I'd say I love crypto, but I see the proponent behind crypto. It's got a huge community. I mean, you can't ignore. I mean, there's on a given day, it may get as high as $4 trillion market cap. And that's a lot of people that believe in it, right? And it's not just me. $4 trillion at one point believed in crypto. Damn, let's see here. All right. Here we go. We got quite a few stocks. ID of good. Why? Axon. We got Axon in the list. I think we got them all. We got Axon here. All right. Start off with IONQ. We got a quantum stock at the top of the list here. There we go. All right, let's resort it by VST. There we go. All right, Idaho Strategic Reserve. Not surprised seeing, a mining company come to the top of the list here. I see here, yep, mining gold, silver. Not surprised by that by any means. They're undervalued. That's one of the things I do like about gold, even with its rise right now. Gold, a lot of these gold stocks were undervalued. When we were scanning through the gold stocks, it was either undervalued or fairly valued. I think there was like one that was overvalued, right? There wasn't many. So that gives me hopeful that, there could be more potential to the upside. But again, stick to the chart. If the gold trade unfolds next week or the following week, don't just keep holding on. If I had to guess, you're gonna see the gold trade unfold and probably tech rally, but we haven't really seen that come to fruition quite yet. But this is still looking really good from a chart perspective here. And we look at Palomar Holdings 145, new high as of today. It's going to be a 3-month high. Let's go to 1-year chart. Okay, so we are getting back to the prior swing high around $18.30 there. The stock is undervalued, so that's good. If you want some confirmation, take out that prior swing high. Now here's Palomar Holding. I mean, that is as smooth of a chart as you're going to get. Lower left, upper right. The MACD did taper off, but the MACD line just crossed back above the signal line. Histogram bars back in positive territory. Now the stock is undervalued, right? So now, because it is undervalued, treat it more like a momentum play at the time being. Oh. Now here we've got Elbit Systems. Again, I do like this. I mean, lower left, upper right. The company is overvalued, diverging away from value, so just be careful of that. You can probably just draw a nice little trend line on those swing lows, keep you in it, 20-day EMA, something like that. Don't overthink it. The stock is doing what you want it to do. We got, 3 full-body candlesticks in a row. If you're looking for confirmation, you see the prior swing high not too long ago. We're approaching that now. So am I going to jump in it right at a level of resistance? Probably not, right? Either want to, surpass it, get a close above it, strong volume, look for those things. It's still crap. It's still crap. A lot of the crypto is crap, but one thing I like about crypto, imagine if there wasn't crypto, right? And you had all these traders and retail traders, from the COVID era, the rise of Robinhood, these other things. Think how much more volatility that would put into the markets, right? And it's kind of like the stock market, but really is gambling, But there are cryptos for all kinds of different things. There's pump and dump cryptos. I wouldn't buy Bitcoin until Michael Saylor gets washed. I've said it before. I would be surprised if Michael Saylor's company made it through a Bitcoin winter. I mean, because volatility is high on that. And I saw his purchase prices, and a lot of his purchase prices were, $90,000 or $100,000 plus. But that's something his shareholders, and the board's got to live with those volatility swings. But I've said it before, I could see a potential bubble when it comes to derivatives in the crypto market that create, a havoc, and that, depending on how confident you are, that could be, the dip of all dips when it comes to crypto. But more often, more and more people are accepting crypto. Let's see here. We got EME, craps. I wouldn't buy it. Let's see here. Bingo. Something I've noticed about people with a lot of money, they like forcing things where they don't belong. Yeah. That can also be true. Now here we've got EME Corp. This might actually be a dip. I'm just looking at the chart right now, but I'm seeing we're getting pretty close to breaking that prior swing high as well. It looks like price action trying to break out to the upside of a downward trend here. If you just drew a trend line on these items, this one might be worth taking. For the confirmation, I'd look get back above 400, 380 stock. That's not much of a move for this price of a stock here. And the MACD with a fresh crossover here with histograms in positive territory. I like it. A lot of crypto stocks positive today. We will see how Monday goes. I've said it before, and don't quote me on it. And I've talked about this with Glenn, and he kind of shook his head. But there, for some reason, this is a personal opinion, there tends to be a correlation between semiconductor companies and crypto. I don't know. It's just because there's that's big demand for semiconductors is crypto, but like you'll be surprised. Like if Nvidia is up, Bitcoin's probably up. If Nvidia is down, Bitcoin is probably down. I'm not gonna say it's 100%, but put that on your radar and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. If you just put up a performance chart of a crypto ETF. I have heard that relationship before. I didn't even hear that from like the internet or anything like that. It was just kind of a conclusion I have come to myself, and you'll see. So now that I've talked about it, now when you watch it, when you watch crypto, when you watch semi, see if they're moving, right? Or tech in general. Why CRM is down, why tech is down, please. Why CRM is down, why tech is down. What do you mean, Amir? Is CRM, that's Salesforce, right? We'll get to that in just a second. Here we got Calm. Look at the value. Ooh, this one. Put this one on your radar. Look at this, Calmain. The valuation jumped from $60 to now above $100, just like what we saw in U.S. antimony, right? That huge jump in valuation. Now the stock is undervalued. It looks like, a nice dip, broke its downward trend line, moving averages, now becoming bullish. MACD is positive. Histogram bars were shrinking, but now starting to rise again. I like Calmain is eggs. Is that what they do? They're eggs? Well, I could see why the valuation is double if they got all the eggs, right? Bill heard it too. What are you talking about, Bill? Heard what? I am confused in selling SPY calls. Will it continue to go up when I sell? I need help. Don't want to lose profits in it. I need to put a stop, but in options it's confusing. I am confused. And selling SPY calls, okay, will it continue to go up when I sell? I need help. Well, you don't want the value of those calls to go up. So you're the seller. You want them to go down, so that way you can buy them back at a lower price, if that makes sense. All right, let's see here. We got Axon. Ooh, some consolidation here. It looks like it's trying to find a bottom, but the stock is still overvalued. I mean, look at this. It's close to $600. We value it at $200. I can't get behind it. If you do want to get behind it and get excited about it, I mean, you've got the swing high here, just shy of 600. Surpass that swing high. The next swing high is just over 700. So it gives you some room to run between that, right? Cryptos and semi-correlation. Heard that too. Oh, okay. Yeah, Bill, that's, Glenn kind of laughed at me, but he usually laughs at me and says, crapto coin, and then I shut the door. But yeah, so I'm glad I'm not the only one. There's a lot of negative news with Calm, but the valuation is jumping up. You see that with the negative news? I mean, it looks like that surpassed, because in the first, month and a half of this chart here, yeah, I see the pressure there. But right now, valuation on the rise, price action on the rise, the technicals, bullish manner. I like Calmain Foods, and that was one of the top RT industries, if not the top one, depending on where it's sitting at right now. They want to give FOMO first, just like $52 move cap. Calm might be investigated for price gouging. Oh, interesting. Okay, and that's good. Good to know that. Calm missed EP. Okay, so they had earnings today. Let's see here. Meta platforms. I do like Meta. Let's go to 1 year chart. I like this dip on Meta. Right at this top of this gap fill here. I mean, look, the stock is just greatly undervalued right now. That is a dip I could get behind. If I see, if we got to get something more in the market here. If you want to take a little bit of a nibble, I get it. But all the moving averages are not in our favor. MACD's not in our favor. Other than the company's just undervalued right now, I don't, see the trade set up quite yet. Especially sitting at this level of resistance here, right at 550. Key levels of resistance. This swing low here back in November. Meta looks like a 78 Fibonacci retracement. Yes, it does. And almost, I was going to say head and shoulders, but not really. But yeah, I can't get above it. You know, it's sitting right at this level of resistance here. I want to take out this prior swing high. You know, I'm more in around closer to 600 for the confirmation level here. But otherwise, yeah, if you're buying the dip, yeah, undervalued. I'm not going to buy a dip on a stock that's overvalued right now. Don't like taking nibbles on a Friday. That's also a good key. Yeah. I wouldn't take it, you know, again, the only thing positive right now is the primary wave is up. Have some patience. I don't think this market turmoil and the tariffs and all that stuff is going to end anytime soon. I think you probably get better, prices potentially. I don't know if it'll take out the prior swing low. We'll see how that comes. But yeah, as long as you are comfortable with a good quality stock, you got a plan in place in case it goes against you. Hey, but just know that is very aggressive. You know, only the primary wave up signal is flashing. It's not even confirmed. So whatever you do right now is, if you're buying anything, it's just aggressive or speculative in nature. So that's one thing you have to understand. Here is Roof Street International. Price action, lower left, upper right. I see the dip here. The company's still overvalued, but MACD's on the rise. The price action, too, as well. Did take out the prior swing high. Nice full body candlestick today. But it's still a channel, right? Do you see that channel? We have big tariffs on our 3 biggest trading partners. Yeah. And we saw some of the blowback in these escalations when it came to the bond market, right? As we were just talking about at the beginning of this forecast, there's some fears there. Essentially foreign entities were not buying the bonds, it sounds like, just from what I was reading and what I saw in the headlines there. So yeah, we'll see how all this plays out, but hopefully we can get along. Sold 480 puts on Meta. I'm okay to own it at that. Hey, Meta at 480. I wouldn't be mad at it either. I would definitely not be mad at it. But rising earnings, I do like this RSI, this Roof Street International. It is starting to recover from that dip there. I do like what I see. Here's the spider, SPY. Oh, loading chart. There it goes. Why won't it load the chart? There we go. All right, SPY. Again, we saw the resistance here. Rejection off that resistance. But we're now finding a level of support off this swing low here, right? I do like what I see. Because it went up. I mean, the market typically works in like a stair fashion, right? It goes up and comes back down. But I wanted to come back down. I wanted to hold right here. If I get much more a downside action below today's low, or I would say more so yesterday's low, then I would be getting defensive again. But right now, I like what I see here. Japan sold a lot of U.S. of bonds Wednesday. Yes, the bond market. Yep. U.S. bonds. I don't know the exact details of it, but from what I've heard in the chat or what I've seen on the on some of the news coming across the headlines here, not good stuff. As more countries come to the bargaining table over the next 90 days, stock market sentiment will improve. I think as long as that bargaining table puts certainty into investors and certainty back into the markets, I see it improving, right? But with whatever's discussed, if the market doesn't get a sense of certainty sooner than later, it may not improve. But time will tell, right? We're in a very news-driven market right now, and look at the thing with the bonds, right? No one was talking about bonds last week, but now we got a bond problem this week. I think the market is really only concerned with China. I mean, China is the biggest trading partner. I can see why Apple can get affected by that. But as Trump stated, what is it? National security. I mean, you got national security and you've got economic concerns. Both are running hand in hand when it comes to China, and that's a delicate balance there. Adjusting or addressing both of those items, I should say, right? But here's SPY. I mean, it's right at that resistance level. at least if you want some confirmation, we might get a bullish engulfing candlestick today if we can get a close a little bit higher than we're at right now. We'll be surpassed yesterday's open. We could get a bullish engulfing. That would be good for the bulls, right? But again, Monday and Tuesday, even if the market decides to go bonanzas, we cannot get a green light in the price column until Wednesday because we've got red lights we're coming off of, right? So, I wouldn't get, too antsy when it comes to buying. I feel better when Canada and Mexico are on our side. I think they're still on our side at some point. I don't know. All right, we got Bitcoin here. Bitcoin just hit a new low. I'm not too optimistic with Bitcoin right now, just because we're in a risk-off environment. This one, Bitcoin thrived with low interest rates. So until we get to interest rate cuts or becoming in the news, or risk on is coming more. But we're seeing some more risk on with the semis today, and now with crypto up a little bit. So, and the MACD looks like it's crossed back above. You know what I do like, though, with Bitcoin? It's approaching its downward trend line. And if we can break above that, Bitcoin might just run a little bit. I spoke of the concerns of treasuries not being brought last week and was chastised for being political. Oh, Bill, that probably wasn't me. The 51st state is not on the U.S. side at the moment. Oh, well, they're not the 51st state, Chris. All right, here we've got NVIDIA, NVDL. This is a 2 times leverage. Hey, this is what, so look at this. We were just talking about this Bitcoin and NVIDIA thing. Look at these 2 charts, right? This is the last 3 months, because we only got a few moments left. We might all learn something today. Oh, yeah, it's 101. We got to go soon. And we got the power hour in the community room for the subscribers. But just look at Bitcoin, right? Approaching the downward trend line. Right on that downward trend line. See if we can break above it. Maybe a nice retest, something like that. But look at NVIDIA. Same pattern here, right? Right on that downward trend line from these swing highs here. You can see, look at these two. They're very similar. And this is the double leverage one, but it's still going to look pretty similar to just NVIDIA. But you can see, very similar in action here. Not exact, but both of them are approaching these downward trend lines. So if both of them break above it, you might get a run there with those two, right? Especially, again, with the 90-day pause, good inflation data coming out. We might be onto something. And Ethereum, again, very similar. Top left, lower right. Ethereum's just been under a little bit more pressure. You can see it's closer to its low right now, but the same scenario here, right? Close to that downward trend line. I'm probably be a little bit more enthusiastic when it comes to Bitcoin than Ethereum. As far as a bullish run there, but we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, the 51st state. Wasn't a fan of that comment, I'll be honest. But again, I don't get political. ARM, very similar to what we saw with NVIDIA, Ethereum, Bitcoin, right? Look at this. Breaking or getting close to that downward trend line. I talked about it before. If you pull up ARM, might have to go to 5 year, maybe 1 year. It won't show the gap up, but there was a gap up here because this is on weekly now. I think between like $80 and $90. Look at that gap, right? Price action went down to that gap. You can see right here this low. What was the low come in? Yeah, $80 went right in that gap, and that was the price I've been waiting on for ARM for a long, long time. So if you got an ARM sub 100, close to 100. That's a stock. That's a deal I could get a little bit behind. Yeah, it's overvalued. So is Palantir, way overvalued. But the company, and I did a story on this. The company's got over 99% share of the market share of processors for smartphones. And on top of that, now they're trying to get into the data center space, right? There's an article. I think I did a short on it yesterday, but it was on AMA. There was an article. How they've got ambitious goals for CPUs and processors. And I mean, they took over the smartphone market, so their technology is very advanced, very efficient. It's good for small devices. You know, everything's getting smaller and smaller. So, you know, I'm no data center expert, but I wouldn't sleep on ARM right now, especially with, you know, again, like some of these other stocks we're looking at. It's approaching that downward trend line. And you know, I love a good break in a downward trend line when the MTI and the BSR are this low. That's probably one of the best ways to make a quick buck, is looking for good companies, you know, breaking a downward trend line to the upside with MTI and BSR. Yeah, it's going to be a little aggressive, and, you know, we don't got quite, you know, the follow through we're looking for, but hopefully next week we'll get some optimism here. And then, like I said, we also got TSM and ASML next week too. So I have a feeling the semiconductors will be buzzing next week. I don't know which way yet. Either we're probably going to get rejections at some of these trend lines we're seeing, or if we do get breaks above it, you know, it really could be off to the races, because we all know Nvidia likes to bring up the semiconductors before its earnings, right? You know, I don't think it's anything, you know, and I don't think, you know, everyone's going to be relying on Nvidia this earnings call. You know, I don't think it's going to save the market. I don't think it's going to be a scene as much as, you know, because think about it, the last few earnings, it's been Nvidia. Nvidia's got to save the market, right? ARM is still a good company to buy. Yes, I do like ARM a lot. Again, you know, if you're a long-term investor, I really like that gap fill I saw. You know, I can't really show it that well on the mobile screen here. Take a look at it. ARM, Ryan, come alive. But I'd wait for, you know, really any stock in this kind of market, unless you're taking little nibbles at prices you are comfortable with. I like breaking a downward trend line, right? Because that shows me, hey, now the trend is really showing signs that the sell-off is over. But I get it. I'm greedy too. I want to get the lowest price possible, and I only do that with little nibbles. I'm not going all in on a blood in the street situation. But here's Dan. We got Dana Inc. here. The company is way overvalued before, but now, look, valuation starting to tick up over the last week. And we see that Dan itself starting to meet its valuation. So I do like the position, not right now to buy, but I do like, you know, putting this in the shopping list, because now stock was way overvalued. Now it's becoming closer to its valuation. But all the moving averages are not in our favor, and we're still so close to the swing low. I mean, we're just a few cents away here. And if we break, you know, this low here from this candlestick, you know, we could get down more downside potential. So this one's a little early for, you know, me personally. IO and Q, let's go to 1 year. Look at this. We got a double bottom here. That's a trend reversal pattern. We got 2 touches, double bottom. I want confirmation above this wick here. Let's go 3 months. It's going to be about right there, close to $30. And if we get, you know, break that, that's what I like to see, because we're pretty close right now. We're at 26, so it's not that far away. But if you are going to get in, just know the MACD, the trend by the MACD is ahead of us, right? I do like this IO and Q though. But again, when it comes to the quantum, they're just so overvalued right now. And that is actually the last stock. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's presentation. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully that you saw a lot of these tech companies and the crypto. Again, we did learn that semiconductors and crypto typically move pretty close together, and a lot of them are, you know, approaching that downward trend line. We looked at what NVDL, ETH, BTC, and ARM. So, you know, if we get some optimism, we get some breaks above those trend lines, and the primary wave up signal sticks, and even more importantly, sticks comes Monday after a long weekend, right? Monday might be a good day to start, you know, taking some, you know, I don't want to say back up the truck, but, you know, taking some buying opportunities, some quick swing trade opportunities when it comes to both semiconductors and, you know, we saw those crypto ETFs here. And when it comes to the quantum here, IO and Q, this might also work out well, but again, you know, a couple dollars short there, right? We want to see some confirmation. All right, yeah, type of Glenn is gone. He went back to New York to visit his dad, and I do know Glenn is a big believer in the power of prayer. I don't know exactly the situation going on, but he's in my prayers, and if you could say a prayer for him as well, I know him and his family would greatly appreciate it. And on top of that, we've got the roadshow May 1st. Come check us out. The event during the day is free. So you can come check it out. I'm doing the Power Hour with a live audience. Glenn will be doing Thursday. Trending Thursday in front of a live audience. We'll give a speech there. But then we got the VIP session, right? I think it's still on special right now. There's only 10 spots. I know a few of them have been filled already. So if you're thinking about going, but I think it's $495. $500 is going to get you a really cool rooftop dinner at Fahrenheit. It's probably one of my favorite restaurants, uptown Charlotte. And then we're going to do a wine tasting with Jarvis Vineyards. If you like wine, I'm telling you right now, one of these bottles is a couple $100. You can just Google Jarvis Vineyards. It's a cave in Napa. I think it's Napa, but in California. And the vineyard's in the cave. It's one of the coolest things. The wine is delicious. So we're going to have a sommelier wine tasting. We're going to play a fun game. We do have some special talks that no one else is going to get. But we want to have fun. So we are going to have a fun game. We're doing like a Shark Tank thing. Where you actually bring stocks and we'll have a panel, and then the customers are gonna do the same, where we bring stocks to the table and you guys could, chew them up like Mr. Wonderful, right? Get a royalty. Again, that's Thursday, May 1st. Just put it on your calendar. Hope you can check us out. Whether you want to check out for the free event during the day, we can love to meet you guys in person, obviously. And depending on the success of this event, we're going to take the show on the road. So really, come check us out, support it, so that way we can do this and travel. Because I know me and Glenn, we definitely want to get to know you guys more on a personal basis. Mr. Traveler says no more AMD. I wouldn't say no more AMD, just not the best time for AMD right now. I'll take a look at that. Any wine ETF? No, I don't know if there's a wine ETF. Maybe we should do a wine stock video to get prepped for it. But yeah, if you're a wine enthusiast, Jarvis Vineyards, it is not easy getting into a wine tasting for them. It's very exclusive. Actually, a family member of mine, won't put out too many details, works for them. That's how we got that shindig going. Stocks and shots, right, Tabula? So yeah, we just want to have fun, So I get it is $495, but you're getting a lot of bang for your buck there. We're gonna have a personal sommelier, nice fancy dinner, rooftop restaurant. So hopefully there can only be 10 for the VIP section. So hopefully, I'll see you guys there. If not, for the free session during the day. Again, it's free. So just go to VectorVest.com/roadshow. You'll get all the details there, right? All right, everybody have a wonderful weekend. Again, gold is king right now, but it looks like semiconductors, getting close to those trend lines there. We'll see what happens next week if that primary wave remains up. Everybody have a great afternoon, and I'll see you guys in the community room at Power Hour here in just a bit. Take care.